We're here at the MedTech Summit in a collaboration between Wobot Health and Intubing's MedTech Crossroads. And I'm here today with Kim Hanke, who's the founder and CEO of Elm Park Labs. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Gene. I really appreciate it.
We're glad to have you. It's a fun day. We just had Mickey Tripathi from Health and Human Services and a good event. We want to know, what does Elm Park Labs do? You guys are in the VR training space.
Right, and we're focused on medical health education right now. So everything from augmented reality to virtual reality, interactive 3D for information. We've created several different types of applications around, we have a Parkinson's application that we have developed with Cleveland Clinic for assessment and evaluation that will start going down the FDA approval path shortly, which is going to be a big application for us. Cleveland's done some clinical trials at this point. We've had 500 users go through this system with some very good results.
Wow.
So hopefully that will help researchers in the future and will help with a lot of different things.
That's great. So you've got applications there where you're actually going through and getting cleared for FDA.
Yes.
Well, give us a sense of the range of applications for your technologies and things that you're working on. So you've got FDA cleared types of things. I think you've also got things in the training space that may or may not be cleared.
Right. So think about specialist training. So one of our new investors into Elm Park Labs and now a partner, Comprehensive Care, they're out in Plymouth, Michigan, they looked at this as a benefit of how do I do training for ECMO specialists? And as we know, as we've talked over the years, ECMO was a life-saving piece of equipment in the ICU for a lot of people on COVID, saved a lot of lives, and it did that across the world, not just here in the U.S. So we have probably globally, we have 800 healthcare systems that provide ECMO. In the U.S., and it's going to grow, right? This is something that is beyond ECMO. It can help any life support type of a system. Think of sudden cardiac arrest where you got to let the heart and the lungs heal. So we've put together with their specialists and developing within the simulation labs and the ICU and the OR specific training for the equipment setup, the circuit build, the priming of the system, and then taking the patient onto ECMO through cannulation.
And you're simulating all of this.
We're simulating everything.
Yep. Wow.
This year we will be in Detroit. We'll have the ECMO conference here in Detroit in September. And we will demonstrate the latest advancements of what we're doing, focused on a couple different systems.
That's impressive. For listeners who don't know, there was challenges with ECMO some years ago, and I remember it's such an important technique that FDA didn't say, pull all the ECMO machines.
Right.
They said, here's a detailed checklist of what we'd like you to do to try to compensate for it. These were like, I think, bacterial infections happening in the machines because of the liquid inside of them. Was that that deal?
Yep, that and in air entrapment can happen. So techniques and procedures needed to be improved. And
so this is something that really, this is a critically involved thing. There's a lot of steps involved. It's not just push a button and walk away kind of stuff.
Oh no, you have to be bedside the whole time.
Wow.
So after you've initiated a patient onto ECMO, there's an ECMO specialist while the patient is on ECMO every single day, 24 hours a day, bedside. So if anything goes wrong, they can react to it. And that is from everything that there's something wrong with a line, to the patient has reacted a certain way, to something happened to the equipment, we have to swap it out. So nobody goes on ECMO unless there's a backup system close.
Wow.
And nobody is on ECMO unless somebody is supported. So when you think about the VR training that needs to occur, you have the specialist, the person that's bedside, you have the nurse, you have the doctor, you have the assistant, because of how you have to do everything. You have to, insert a cannula. You need to be able to hook up the lines properly. You need to be able to react and troubleshoot to everything that happens.
You're building a flight simulator for ECMO.
Absolutely.
This is like we're going to put you in the situation, and we're going to see if you respond correctly.
Yep.
Wow.
And one of the intriguing things when we first met a gentleman, his name's Sean Murtha, part of the CCS team. We met for lunch. We had no idea what was going to happen, and this was a introduction from Nikki Kennedy, who we both know.
Oh yeah.
And Nikki's like, you two need to talk. Sean, you got to see what Kim's doing. Kim, you got to talk to Sean about what he'd like to do. And we met in 15 minutes into the conversation. He goes, if you can do open heart surgery, like we had done a demo with Cleveland Clinic on that, you guys can certainly do what we're doing.
Wow.
He had made the decision that day that we were going to go down this path. So he introduced me to Patty Finelli, and then also the CEO, Chet Siplika, and we just moved out on the whole venture as quickly as possible.
Wow, that's really epic. How did you come to the collaboration that you're now in the ECMO space?
And with them, or just with?
Was that something that you'd always had in your minds? Because I think you've explored a number of different avenues.
Yeah.
Cleveland Clinic at first, and then
right. So we went down the path in Cleveland Clinic that will probably come back around again. It's around coming off bypass, right? So when you're coming off bypass and open heart surgery, and as you relate it to a flight simulator, if you can do open heart surgery, you can build a flight simulator. You can simulate just about anything. So when we showed this, and in the VR system, you'll see the monitors operating, you'll see the whole team interacting together. You'll see the heart at a still pace because they're on bypass. So that's running through a perfusion machine. And then all of a sudden you bring them back on for blood flow, and the blood comes back through the heart, and all of a sudden you see the heart just simply moving just a little bit, and then you see the bedside monitor come to life, and you know that you've done everything right. Now in these simulations, what you're allowed to do, or what you can do, is you can simulate the worst case. What happens when there's a power failure? What do you do? What do you do to keep the patient alive? So that type of level of simulation, and now taking it into the ICU, is huge. From an operating room to an ICU, and then training of nurses, and how do you do different things? How do you keep a patient alive?
And you're taking them through all those different steps, giving them a little bit of the sense of the adrenaline that I'm sure they're going to feel when...
Everything that you can think of.
That's really cool. And of course, in a hospital system context, this is something where they want to train their practitioners, their healthcare providers. As we talk about it, I think more and more also about the world of usability and training that's required for medical devices. It strikes me that for more complex devices, new devices being put out to the market, you guys would have quite a role to play in becoming the instructions for use for a complex device. So maybe now we're not sending somebody to do training, maybe we're putting you in a VR headset, and that's the new training.
Right. Or I'm sending a headset to you, and you can, you're a busy doctor, you're a busy nurse. What if I could do this training in a headset after I put the kids to bed? Or that I could do it on a rainy day, on my day off? Or do I have to break away from my patient rounds or my duties at the hospital to go and take time off to go to a workshop off-site for a week to learn about doing something? Or can I just accelerate my training, because now I'm not sitting in a lecture looking at a PowerPoint. I'm able to take that 8 hours, and I'm able to do that VR training and that simulation and do the quiz and all that within maybe an hour. So I've taken an 8-hour day or a 10-hour day of training, and I've done all 5 learning modules in an hour. And I keep that information, it's in a log. It is collected in a system. So I know how well I did, when I took it, what I'm supposed to take next.
I got all that there. I feel like that's one of the enduring things. We talk about how the world changed with COVID and everything else, but I feel like a lot of things have gotten back to how they were or going in that direction. But one that I don't think has is this idea of, we used to feel like we had to be someplace. to do something.
Right.
And I really do feel like that's something that has changed.
Right. It has definitely changed. I mean, you can read a lot of papers on, interaction, human interaction. We don't get to do this still as often as we used to do it pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Right. Now you think about the effects that that's had based on isolation. The isolation has driven us to, I'm going to look it up on my computer, I'm going to look it up on my phone, I'm not going to talk to somebody. So our retention level has gone down, right? So as a community, we need to do something to drive the retention to be higher, and recall and muscle memory. That is one of the benefits with VR. Now I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it, I'm doing it, I'm repeating it, I'm using my hands,
I'm in that situation.
Interacting with the system, and your retention level is going higher. You're remembering it longer.
Yeah. It's really getting into your brains. I know
Yes.
there's some VR games that I've played. I don't play a lot, but I still remember those things. They're kind of scary, actually. So, Kim, how big is Elm Park Labs? And tell us a little bit more just about the company and its makeup.
Well, we founded the company in 2015. At that time, I still had a full-time job working at the Department of Defense, and I decided that we were going to start the software company after I found out through a friend of mine that told me my patent was awarded that I'd written in 2004 on
Wow.
predictive analysis.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I had to make some decisions at that point. At that point, I had been at the government for over 10 years, doing some really cool work. Was probably one of the best jobs I've ever had in my lifetime after 40 years. And made a decision to do that. So what I did is I went to some students that I knew from LTU, asked them if what the vision of what I wanted to do is possible. The young man went away, came back. He said, give me 2 weeks. He came back and he says, is this what you were thinking? I go, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Nice.
And now we were off to the races, right? So ended up hiring a few people. We had a couple interns. We had a couple full-time. I was funding this whole thing myself.
Wow.
And we ended up, they would start work at 12:30. And I would get there at 5:30. So I still had 4 hours I could work with them every night while I still had a full-time job. And then I would work on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, to tie everything together and get the assignments lined up. And now we're, full-time, I'd say 19. So just before COVID hits, we had the product ready to go. The idea was to build the products on a foundation that we didn't race to market, that we didn't just do a bunch of one-offs, that we really put some thought behind the functionality that was going to be needed, how it was going to work in AR, how it was going to work in VR, how we were going to integrate these two things together to be as seamless as we could, and then tie in the interactive 3D, thinking about anybody that has a piece of equipment needs to know how to operate it, maintain it, and repair it. The person that gets that piece of equipment needs to be trained how to use it. And then the person that is in the situation or in the environment of where that equipment is, they need to be trained with everything. So how do you do that? So those three main tools are what we ended up building. So the VR application, Mentor, right? So I'm going to walk you through how to do it. It's a coach, it's a guide, it's multiplayer, it's single player. You can do it anywhere. Interactive 3D. This is a application that gives you the step-by-step instructions. So you think about, I want to explode it, I want to take it apart, I want to find something out in chapter 22 in a book that's on a shelf and on the other side of the building. Well, now that can be right on my phone or on a tablet or in the room where I most need it. I may remember the first 20 steps, but 21, shoot, I can't remember what I'm supposed to do, right?
But you have access to it
But now I have access to it. I can just pull my phone out and I can do it. And then then we have a care companion application for adults and for kids. And this is developed with a team of, we're at 10 full-time people right now. We have a board of directors. We have an advisory group that we have of medical people and manufacturing
That's
folks.
great.
We have our products are on display at the Dell Innovation Center in Limerick, Ireland, and down in Round Rock, down in Texas. So, like I talked earlier, even about the Parkinson's application, that application is built for that, but can also be used to train somebody working at heights at an oil refinery. You're walking on an omnidirectional treadmill while in a headset with data analytics being collected, and you're learning how to do something in an environment, and you're not just standing still.
And the sky's kind of the limit there. So once you've established these beachheads, you can go easily, especially to less regulated spaces.
Absolutely. So as we grow, we do different things. We're so we have investors. That's all been private investment. We, are pursuing different grant applications, mainly right now with Michigan Medicine, as we pursue a couple larger projects with them. So we'll do that in partnership with them. And then, the future is something that we need to look at, comparing ourselves to other companies in the same space that have come out at the same time with the opportunity to grow the business. If I could triple the team, how much more can I grow? How much quicker can I deliver? How much better are the applications going to be? Equipment is expensive. The computers are expensive. The software is expensive. And it's one of those things where sometimes you're competing with the healthcare system that thinks they want to do it on their own, or you've got to set up that partnership between them and you, or you're building it on the outside with maybe a device manufacturer or with a company that specifically does a certain task. Bridging that gap and making sure that as a community around this type of technology, that we don't lose the innovation by all the different companies being very intrigued and wanting to build their own thing.
Yes, yeah.
That we don't stifle the innovation of the companies that do this 100% of the time, full time, day in and day out. So leveraging that is something I think industry, healthcare, everybody needs to really think about, as well as how do the companies like Elm Park Labs partner with the right companies to do this, right?
This is sort of like everyone could have built their own word processor, but now there are sort of standards out there, very few of them, and at some level it's because we recognize, okay, it's best if we just let somebody take care of that aspect, and now we can all leverage it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's great.
Yeah.
So the Microsoft Word flight simulator of VR medical education. I think that's probably too much of a mouthful, but we're all on the same page. Kim Hanke of Elm Park Labs, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.